This is Douglas from Dynamic Computing, and this is episode 3 of the 10-minute Amiga Retrocast, Taking Stock. Now, I have been a Commodore user since I was just a kid. My first machine was a Commodore VIC-20 back in 1980, 1981. Loved it, did tons of programming on this little 2.5K of memory. Then in maybe 83, 84, upgraded to a Commodore 64 that got addicted to the extra power, extra graphics, extra sound. It was wonderful. And then in 87, I decided to spend my hard-earned money on an Amiga 500. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. Now, I had friends, I had teachers that would talk about their, CGA screens with 4 colors and they're IBM compatible. I had friends and associates that talked about their amazing Macintosh with its, screen that was this big and its black and white graphics. And I looked at them and I'm like, why? Why would you spend $3 grand on a machine like that for, $500? I've got 4,096 colors. I have stereo sound. I've got multitasking. It was beyond me what they were thinking. But over the years, I collected a lot more Amigas, and I wanted to give you a little tour of the ones that I currently have. Now this little beauty here, this is my original Amiga 500 from 1987. It still actually works just fine. The floppy acts up on it, but I've got another floppy I can throw in there. I don't really use it too much. Every now and again I plug it in just to make sure it still works. I'm seriously considering going the Vampire V2 route on this little guy. It'd just be so much fun. Now, over here we've got an A570 CD-ROM drive. Single speed. Zoom! It really makes this thing into a full CD TV. Does everything the CD TV can do. To be honest, I used it as a CD TV maybe a dozen times, but I got a ton of use out of it, playing music back in the early 90s on it, and lots of Fred Fish discs went in there. Now this little guy, actually big guy, this is an Amiga 4000 tower. I see my ROM chips are missing. I got to put some in there. But this is a working A4000 tower. Just needs some RAM, some ROM chips, and one of my A3640 cards, and this little guy just hums right up. To be honest, I haven't turned it on in 15 years, but I assume it still works. Now this was my pride and joy for many years. Throughout the mid-2000s, this was my Amiga of choice. Pardon the cable mess. It's an Amiga 3000 that's been towerized. 4 megabytes of RAM right now, and an 030 25 megahertz CPU. Used to have my Warp engine in it before I moved that over to my other machine. It also has a Retina RTG card at the bottom. Now look at this level of professionalism here, where we're holding up the card with styrofoam. Now that's what I call quality right there. But the Amiga 3000 is such an incredible system with its 31 kilohertz video and its raw power of its SCSI controller. Fantastic card. This is my A4000 desktop right here. This little guy inside has my Warp engine 040 running at 40 megahertz with 64 megabytes of RAM and fast SCSI 2 on board. Absolutely love that card. Ultimately, it's going to be an 060 card when I get around to sending it in and having it upgraded. Now, the first card over here is a Thylacine USB card. It fits into it's a Zorro 2 card. Fantastic card. Handles just about every USB product I throw at it, but it's a little slow. Now this guy under here, this is my X-Surf 100. 100 base T networking card from Individual Computers. I'll tell you what, that thing is an absolute marvel. Getting my Amiga 4000 online with this with Roadshow is a breeze, and the performance is great. Over here we've got a CyberGrafx 64 3D retargetable graphics card, the thing that gives us our pretty display there. I generally run it 800 by 600 in 16-bit color, but it handles higher resolutions and higher color just fine. On the bottom is my Sunrise AD516 16-bit sound card. It's an 8-channel sound card. Does fantastic audio capture and audio playback. It works fine with AHI drivers on the Amiga, so it'll play back MP3s, it'll play back audio from the videos that I create just beautifully. And I've got USB compact flash, SD card, USB port, nice little guy right there. Now, hard drive wise, I've got 2 hard drives in this Falcon unit right under there, that guy right there. One of them is a 74 gig 15,000 RPM SCSI drive, and the other's a 300 gig 15,000 RPM SCSI drive. They're way too hot to fit inside the case, so I've got them in that external drive bay, and they work absolutely perfect even with those high capacities. Now, moving right along, oh, look at that logo. Isn't that nice? This is my Amiga 1200. It's got a Blizzard 040 card in it right there with 64 megs of RAM on it. It's worked great for years. I've got a individual computers MK2 flicker fixture, which is absolutely wonderful. I'm very pleased with the performance of that. It lets me run my Amiga in a nice 800 by 600 flicker free mode on just about any monitor that I toss at it. It does 16 gig CF card I use to boot the thing with. Soon I'll have much faster IDE on here. And I generally get online with a nice Orinoco wireless card. Now, the last machine is an Amiga 2000. Now this thing was a workhorse. That's a GVP 68040 SCSI card. I think 32 megabytes of RAM, and had some nice SCSI hard drives on there. And it had video toaster in here, an audio card that I'll show you in a second. And then one day, about 6-7 years ago, boom, just quit working. Black screen, all the lights come on, just black screen, doesn't even try and boot. So I've cleaned it all up, and this is a project I'm working on now, getting it back up and running. I have a A2000 coming in from eBay, should be here in a couple of days, and I'm going to use the parts on that to get at least one A2000 working. Big plans for that. I've got 2 video toasters, a Toaster 4000 and a Toaster 2000. Octagon SCSI card does not work. Also has slots for 8 megs of RAM, and it's just simply not recognized by anything, so I'm going to play with that. Some completely worthless Ethernet cards that just use the old style connector right there. Nice Picasso 2 RTG card that went in the A2000. Zorro 2, so it's a little on the slow side. It's my slowest RTG card out of the 3 I own, but it works fine in the A2000 system. One is a digital signal processor that does something with the toaster, and the other is a time-based corrector. They probably still work. Here we've got my 3 A3640 cards. Here is a Blue Ribbon Soundworks one-stop music shop. I'm trying to figure out what on earth I'm going to do with that, because it's not really a sound card. It's more of some kind of synthesizer, and I'll figure something out with it. Now, here is an M-Plant board with no chips whatsoever on it, no SCSI on it. Now here, these are fun. The bottom one is a bridge board. This is an 386 SX Commodore bridge board. Has sockets on it for up to, I believe, 8 megabytes of RAM, and this goes along with it. This is an ISA card, and it has video, it has a hard drive interface, has a floppy interface, has serial, has parallel. Man, I searched far and wide for a card that would add all the capabilities I needed to run Windows in one ISA slot, because at the time my 3000 desktop, only had 4 slots, so I had to be very careful what I used. One of my projects is going to get this up and running again. I think I'm going to put it in the A2000 when I get it up and running. It should be fun. Throw on Windows 3.1, see what we can do. Now, over here, what's this thing? Huh. It looks like an A4000 motherboard, but it's got this 6882 and a what is this? A 68020 chip on the board? What the heck is that? Oh, looky there. An A2200 board. Now, about 12 years ago or so, I bought a batch of A4000 boards on eBay. They were, supposedly dead boards. I just wanted them for the parts so I could get some other equipment working. And in the box was this A2200 board, which was a never released Commodore model that was going to be between the A3000 and A4000. 020 chip, up to I think 16 megs of RAM on board, a daughter board here that was supposed to be 03, but it only worked 02. Now, I've had this thing posting before, but it's been like 10 or 11 years since I've actually had it post. So one of the things we're going to do on the video cast is get this thing working and try and get us a working A2200. That should be fun. That should be enough for now. And this is Doug from Dynamic Computing, signing out.